Miles T.
It was a season filled with distraction and disappointment for the New Orleans Pelicans. After finally getting past the first round by sweeping the Portland Trail Blazers 2 years ago, things were looking up for the franchise, and more success could convince the franchise player Anthony Davis that New Orleans is the place to be. After starting the season 10-7, which actually was their best start since the 2010-11 season, things started to go downhill quickly. A couple of key players got hurt, and big games by Anthony Davis wasn't enough to keep the Pelicans from losing and tumbling down the standings in the Western Conference. And things got even worse when Davis demanded to be traded through his agent. Any hope of turning the season around ended after that news. The Pelicans really couldn't tank the way they wanted to because the NBA commissioner demanded that they play their healthy players. So the Pelicans had to at least play Anthony Davis every other game, which led to a 33-49 record. Even with all that negativity and darkness, there was a bright light at the end of the tunnel. The Pelicans hit the lottery, which saved the franchise as they got the number 1 pick in the draft, which will quickly launch the new era of Pelicans basketball. There was no doubt who they were going to take with the number 1 pick, Zion Williamson. Not the best prospect since LeBron, but definitely the most hyped. Zion is a game changer. He's not a natural scorer, and he should not be the number 1 scoring option on your team, but he can impact the game in a lot of ways. His strength and athleticism allows him to get easy buckets in the paint and in transition, and he showed how good of a defensive player he could be in the future. He is unselfish and is an excellent passer. He has an infectious personality that will go along well in the locker room. David Griffin and the Pelicans have surrounded Zion with the necessary talent to help him succeed in his career. David Griffin's first big job as a general manager was to get the best package for Anthony Davis. There were really only one team that was willing to give a good package. With 1 year left on his deal, not many teams were willing to give a great package. The Pelicans traded for Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Hart, and 3 first-round draft picks. That's a trade that could possibly turn this team into contenders in no time. Lonzo Ball and Jrue Holiday could easily be one of the best defensive backcourts in the league. There are a lot of things you can criticize about Lonzo's game. Defense ain't one of them. Lonzo's defensive real plus-minus from last season ranked 8th among point guards. His addition could allow Jrue Holiday to have more energy on the offensive end, which will be needed for this young team. Alvin Gentry plays an up-tempo style of offense, and Lonzo and his elite vision and passing skills should thrive in this system. There are not a lot of proven scorers on the team, so having a player like Lonzo helping teammates get easy looks is very important. A player who has the talent to become a proven scorer in the league is Brandon Ingram. He showed last year he could possibly be a number 1 option on a good team. He had somewhat of a breakout season as he averaged 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. He has the size and skill set to score in a lot of ways, and adding more strength and muscle could go a long way in him becoming an elite scorer. He has the long arms and quickness to be a great defensive player. His 3-point shooting regressed last season, but he did have a hot streak in January and February where he shot over 40%. Josh Hart was also a part of the trade, but it's hard to project where he's going to get minutes this season and in the future. They have Jrue Holiday, who will start at the 2-guard spot, and they signed J.J. Redick and drafted Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Josh Hart may end up being traded because of the lack of minutes available. Veterans J.J. Redick and Derek Favors were added in the offseason. 2 players who have been in the league for a while and can help build good habits for the young players. Elite shooting is all that Redick brings, but that's very important in today's NBA. Redick can help when the Pelicans have scoring droughts by getting him open for 3-point shots or even being a decoy, which will lead to an easy bucket. Being around great defensive players, Redick's weakness as a defender could be covered up. Derek Favors is also a great defender. and he gets to play his natural position at the 5 spot. He hasn't gotten too many offensive opportunities in the last couple of years, but he is a good scorer in the low post. Favors is a professional with a great work ethic and will be a positive influence in the locker room. Two players who have been forgotten to a certain extent is Jahlil Okafor and Frank Jackson. Two players who will look to prove they can be productive players in this league. After being drafted 3rd overall, his lack of defense, conditioning, and injuries have almost drove Jahlil out of the league. But he has worked extremely hard, getting in great shape and transforming his body, and he is now leaner and quicker. Despite the drama with the Anthony Davis trade request, Jahlil still played his butt off, and there was a stretch in late January and early February where he averaged 19 points, 10 rebounds, and over 2 blocks a game. Okafor may not ever be the player we thought he could be, but he proved last season that he deserves to be in the league, whether it's coming off the bench or starting. With Jackson Hayes being drafted and being the center of the future, this could be an audition for Okafor to the rest of the league that he can play and can be a part of a winning team. Frank Jackson has battled injuries and actually missed his whole rookie year with a foot injury. Much like Ben Simmons, his second season, which was last season, was considered his rookie year since he didn't play a single game in his first year. Before he suffered a season-ending concussion last season, he had multiple double-digit scoring games, including a 20-point game against the Hawks. Frank is more of a score-first point guard. He is still just 21 years old and worked out with teammate Jrue Holiday over the summer to sharpen his skills so he can be ready for the upcoming season. Jackson is in line to be the backup behind Lonzo, and you should see a decent leap forward in his consistency if he can stay healthy, which has held him back. This could be his last chance to prove he can contribute and be a part of the Pelicans' future. The New Orleans Pelicans could be one of the most exciting teams in the NBA this season. They could be a top 10 defensive team with all the potential on the roster, but they could struggle to put up points on a consistent basis. Brandon Ingram and Jrue Holiday are the best scorers on the team. It will take more production on offense from other players for this team to sniff the playoffs. There will be a lot of ups and downs with the Pelicans. They will show you at times that they can compete with any team in the league. Then there will be nights where you say they still have a long way to go. They will play hard, they will be competitive, but the playoffs will have to wait for the New Orleans Pelicans. I have them winning 30 games and finishing in 11th place. It's crazy how the fortunes of a franchise change with the bounce of a ping pong ball. This is probably the most talent that New Orleans has ever had, but it means nothing if you can't develop that talent into great players. They have the potential to be a great team in the future, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. The Western Conference is a beast, and it won't be easy to crack the top 8 in the near future.